Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and on today's video we'll take a look at one of the cheapest AM5 motherboards that you can purchase at the moment. Now this is recorded at the beginning of January 2026. I had to think about it then. And this is the Gigabyte ultra durable A620MH. This is part of the ultra durable range and is supporting the A620A chipset. It has DDR5 support and also NVMe SSD ready. Now this is a slightly unusual one because the A620A chipset is somewhat of a rework of the B550 chipset. Now don't take any misunderstandings from that. This board does not support any form of overclocking, at least processor wise. It still will allow you to enable expo or XMP profiles for RAM. That is still available, and potentially you can still do some tweaking of voltages to maybe get a little bit more out of your processor. But this realistically is designed for lower end CPUs or APUs. If you just want to put together a cheap AM5 system, which with RAM prices as they are at the moment is probably you want to save as much money as you possibly can wherever you possibly can. This still supports PCIe Gen 4 for your graphics cards, so obviously do bear that in mind if you are thinking of getting some newer graphics cards which may require PCIe Gen 5. And also the slot itself is quite low down the board, so if you are putting this into a Micro-ATX case, which is most likely you will do because this is a Micro-ATX motherboard, you are going to be very limited on size for your GPUs. A twin slot is pretty much the most you can go to. Again, that's going to be dependent on the case. If you put this into an ATX case, then you're going to have plenty of room, it won't be a problem. But for those of you building in Micro-ATX or considering building in a Micro-ATX, just do be mindful that some graphics cards may be somewhat of a squeeze and maybe a little bit choked off at the bottom of your rig. So in today's video, we're going to go through, do a little overview of this board, tell you what it's all about, look at some of the connections, the features, some of the downsides, some of the pros, and then you can decide whether or not this is going to be suitable for your next budget build. So taking a look at the box first of all, on the back of the box it goes through some of the key parts. So it's got a 5+2+2 phase digital VRM, not the strongest, so obviously do be mindful of that. Ideally you want to stick to probably 65 watt parts for CPUs. It will go higher and it does support the latest and greatest, but obviously that VRM is going to be under a lot of duress. It also incorporates the easy PCIe Express latch for removing your graphics cards. Also has Gigabit LAN with bandwidth management, and also supports NVMe PCI Express drives up to 4 times, and that is PCI Express Gen 4 also. When it comes to accessories actually included in the box, there isn't a great deal to speak of. You do have a pair of SATA cables, which will probably come in handy because there's only one M.2 slot. So chances are if you want to add additional storage, then you're going to be looking at SATA based drives or something external. As you've possibly noticed already, there isn't actually a captive I/O shield, so you do get one included in the box, which actually is quite useful because it does show you on there which one of them is the port for your BOS Flashback. We've actually done a video on how to do a BOS Flashback on this. I'll try and link that in the video description below. But yeah, you do get an I/O shield. And in terms of manuals, basically it's all online. All you do get is the kind of certificate of regulatory notices, which comprises for those various boards on there. So yeah, not a lot included in the box, which again is probably down to the reason why this is so cheap, and also the fact that there is no real VRM heatsink as such. It's all going to need to be cooled by the airflow in the case, or if you're using a top-down cooler, that will give this a little bit of a helping hand. So again, like I've said, it's a very weak VRM, it's entry-level VRM. So if you're looking at getting this board, I'm putting on like a 9800X3D, probably not the greatest of choices. Ideally, this board is going to be ideally paired with something like a 7700, one of the APUs, maybe a 7600X, that type of thing. But obviously do bear this in mind and keep your expectations a little bit lowered. If you're planning on using this as a all-day rendering rig, it's probably not the right board for you. So with all that said, let's take a look at the board and see what connectivity options we've got. So in the top corner, we've got an 8-pin EPS or CPU additional power connector. VRM stages all around here, no heatsinks as we've already mentioned. Next, we've got a CPU header. Now there isn't actually a AIO pump header on this. So if you are planning on getting this board and possibly putting an AIO on there, then yeah, you might be in a little bit of a sticky situation there. Potentially if you go for one of the Arctic AIOs, which they have a combination plug, which combines the pump, the fans and all that kind of stuff all into one plug, then that's going to be fine. But if you're looking for one with a separate AIO connection for running the pump, then this isn't really the board for you. Again, due to the limited VRM, which I can't stress enough, this is probably going to be suited towards air cooling and modest processors at best. Moving along, we've got 2 RAM slots, so this will support up to 96 gigabytes of RAM, so 2 48 gig sticks, at least at the time of recording. Memory speeds, again, ideally, I would probably be looking at around about 6,000 mega transfers per second as being kind of the sweet spot for Ryzen processors. It will support higher than that, and with BIOS updates, it's going to get faster and faster over time. But again, realistically, again, with the RAM situation as it is at the moment, 5600, 6000 is going to be absolutely fine here and probably what you should be looking for. So moving around, we've got a 24-pin main power connector, and just to the side of that, something which is really helpful on boards these days, that is a diagnostic D-LED. So there's 4 LEDs in there, and if you get stuck on your boot process, it will light up either CPU, RAM, VGA, or boot. So giving you some form of diagnostics rather than just being left there in the dark. I kind of like that, especially on a very entry-level motherboard. Underneath that, system fan header. Then underneath that, we've got 4 SATA ports. Again, potentially you might want to make use of those with some old mechanical drives or even a SATA-based SSD for additional storage, being that we've only got 1 M.2 slot. Underneath that, we've got a very small heatsink over the A620A chipset, or B550 as is otherwise known. And moving across, we've got our front panel connector for USB 3. So that's going to provide you with 2 USB Type A ports for your case, both of which will be running at 5 gigabits per second. Next, we'll take a very brief, and it will be brief, brief look at the M.2 and PCI Express. So starting at the top, from the CPU, we've got an M.2, so this is PCI Express Gen 4 ×4 maximum speed. There is one of these plastic retention clamps. There's no heatsink as such included, so if you do want to keep your drive a little bit cooler, then I would suggest maybe budgeting in an additional M.2 heatsink. They're very inexpensive and probably worthwhile doing, again, depending on what sort of drive you're going to be putting on here. Next up, there is a PCI Express Gen 3 ×1 slot. So if you want to add in something like a Wi-Fi card, potentially you can do that. And you might want to, because this board doesn't have built-in Wi-Fi and it doesn't have built-in Bluetooth. So if you do need those features, you are going to have to put those in separately yourself after the fact. Underneath that, we've got a full PCI Express Gen 4 ×16 slot. And also we do have that nice easy release latch, which is nice and large. So to remove your graphics cards in a slightly more cramped case, that's going to make life a little bit easier. Moving down to the bottom section, so in the bottom here we've got our main front panel connector, which in typical Gigabyte style confuses the bejesus out of people. So you've got your traditional plugs towards the left hand side for power button, reset, power LED, etc. Also you've got separate ones on the side there for speakers and the older 3-pin type LEDs if you want to use those. Above that we've got our CMOS clear and also a reset header, which is slightly unusual because you've also got reset on your front panel connector there directly underneath it, but you've got the option to wire one in directly there for some reason or other. Don't know why, but you've got 2. Moving across, the last of the fan headers, so there are 3 in total, all of which support PWM and DC control. Also you can configure them in the Gigabyte control center or directly in the BIOS, whichever suits your purposes. Moving across from that, we've got the first of our addressable ARGB headers, so that supports 5-volt addressable ARGB. Moving across, a pair of USB 2.0 panel ports, each supporting multiple ports should you wish to. Yeah, not very much use these days. Most cases have USB 3 ports, but if you've got USB 2 as well, you can plug those in there. Moving across from that, there is the SPI TPM port. You can use that as well. Also your BIOS battery, so CR2032. Nice and easy to remove should you need to reset the CMOS, or you can use the pins over there, whichever suits you. Moving across, we've got a 12-volt RGB connection. So if you've got older 12-volt RGB stuff, you can connect that there. And there's a secondary ARGB port for 5-volt 3-pin addressable ARGB. Nice to see there's 2 of them on there. This board is very, very minimalist, and quite often when you get a board like this, you don't get any RGB at all. But you've got RGB and ARGB, so that is a nice addition, especially for the kind of more budget gamery builds which we tend to see. Yeah, I think it's a good thing overall. Also on the end there, you've got the onboard audio solution front panel connector for that, and you've got your audio DAC and also the capacitors. Obviously in the middle, if it's not completely obvious. You've got the AM5 socket. So this actually does support up to the 9950X3D. Obviously, that's not a good choice to go with this board. You can use it. It is listed as being compatible, but yeah, with this VRM, I would strongly suggest against it. If you want to see all the processors which are supported and their various wattages, head over to the Gigabyte site. There'll be links in the video description. You can see what is compatible with your board and potentially what would be recommended. So that is pretty much it for the board itself. Pretty much most of the bases are covered. You've got an M.2 port, you've got a graphics card slot, you've got a couple of RAM slots, ARGB ports, and also you've got the Diagnostic D-LED. So yeah, it's not too bad. It could be a lot worse. Going on to the back of the board, in terms of I/O, this is where it does get kind of very, very meager indeed. There's not a great deal going on. So you've got a pair of USB 2.0 ports there, and also a keyboard and mouse port if you want to use that. The lower port here on the USB 2s is the BOS Flashback port, and that works in conjunction with the BOS Flashback button, which is just here. There's also an LED next to it as well, so you can see the status of the flash. Again, we've done a video on that if you want to check it out. Next up, we've got two USB 3.0 ports. These are both running at 5 gigabits per second. Next up, HDMI and also DisplayPort. HDMI is going to do 1920 by 1080. I think it's about 144 Hertz maximum. The DisplayPort will do up to 4K 60. Again, this is going to be dependent on using an APU or built-in graphics on your processor. Most people, I think, will probably use a separate GPU, but if you are making use of an APU, or just use an AM5 processor with the very basic Radeon graphics, then at least you'll get some form of display output, although it's not going to be particularly 3D accelerated. Next up, we've got a gigabit LAN port and another two USB 2.0s, so the slower speeds there. And you've also got your 3 audio jacks for your line, your speakers, and also the microphone. And that is kind of pretty much it. There's not a great deal going on elsewhere. There's nothing on the back as such. It is what it is. It's a very cheap board. You can pick these up for somewhere around the sort of 70 to 80 pounds mark. So if you do want to save some money, and this is probably the cheapest board on the market for AM5 on Micro-ATX, which has got a reasonable feature set. I actually quite like the new Gigabyte control center, pretty decent. The new Gigabyte BIOS layout is also quite nice as well. So yeah, definitely worth a look if you're looking at spending very, very little on a motherboard and you don't need the latest and greatest. You just want to put together a nice little system to do a bit of gaming, or maybe it's just like a work PC, something in the office which is just going to be cheap and cheerful and just keep on plodding on. I think it's actually worth a shout. But what I think about it isn't particularly important. What you think about it is. So sound off in the comments section. Have you got one of these boards? Have you used it? Or are you planning to get one? Or have you had one of these put into one of your OEM builds or some kind of CyberPower PC or whatever, your pre-built? Have you had this installed and how's it been for you? Be interested to hear your stories in that comments section below. I think that's going to pretty much wrap this one up. Hopefully you've enjoyed the video. If you have, smash that like button. If you want to see more content like this on a daily basis, maybe consider hitting subscribe. And if you do that, don't forget to hit the chime notification. That way you'll be notified of future video releases. But for now, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To. And hopefully we'll catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.